Okay, we are now recording.
Who is
Brad,
recording? Ronnie, are you recording?
I am recording, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, hi. This is Brad Zarlin. I'm interviewing Yitzhak. You pronounce it Kohavi,
Yeah.
okay? And I'm working on a project. I interviewed about 2,000 Holocaust survivors, and then I give the interviews to the Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
And I've been working on the project for about 16 years. I've done all the interviews except for this one on the telephone. So, I haven't done any of the interviews, with Zoom. So we'll see how this goes. Okay, you ready?
Yeah. So
Okay. So today is September 15th, 2022. And we're talking to Yitzhak Kohavi. And, we're recording it, in a Zoom meeting. And Yitzhak, where were you born and when were you born?
okay. I was born in Hungary, in Budapest, in 1939. 1st of April, by the way, if it's important.
Yeah.
And I was born to a couple that came from the villages from Munkacs, from Miskolc area in Hungary. I don't know if you are aware of the Hungary map or the areas, but Miskolc is a city in Hungary, and it's the third largest city now, and the area is in the northern part of Hungary. And my grandparents and my parents came from this area, from a village called Harsány, and another village, and they met there. This is the distance from Budapest is around 200 kilometers, and it's a very poor area. So I'm coming, or my family came from very poor people. Now, for the record, all these areas were the first that were conquered by the Nazis in March 1944, and all the people from this area were taken to Auschwitz or Birkenau or any other place, and all my relatives from these areas were killed during the Holocaust. So
Right.
my father, well, his name was, I think it's important to know, my name is a Hungarian name, is Csillag. Csillag means star, and Kohav means star. So we are talking about, my name is Csillag, and I was born as Csillag István.
Right.
Okay, my father was Csillag Zoltán, and my mother was Csillag Malvin, and I was Csillag István, and I have two brother and a sister, Csillag Gyuri and Csillag Clara.
Yeah, I'll ask you the question. So the area where you're from, this is near Munkacs?
Yes.
Right.
It's Miskolc, not Munkacs, Miskolc.
Oh, so is that near Munkacs or no?
I don't know.
You don't
I
know?
don't know. But it's in the northern part of Hungary. And we visited last month with Ronnie, the one of the places, it's called Mezochat, and the other one is Harsány. These are the two villages, small villages, where my parents were born.
Okay. Now, your father, Zoltan, what did he do for a living?
Me or my parents?
No, your father. What did he do for a living in
My
Europe?
father was a shoemaker. He was a shoemaker, and after he married at 1930, he was born in 1906, and my mother was born in 1905, and they married in 1930. And my father thought that he could be rich or richer if he moves to Budapest, and he lived in one of the streets in Budapest that called Munkácsi Mihály utca. Utca means street, and he opened there a shoemaker place. We lived in a small, very small apartment in this street.
Now, Did he make children's shoes or women's shoes or men's shoes?
He made all kinds of shoes, but everything was handmade. Every birthday, I got a shoe. This was my present. And
So-
he was repairing shoes and making shoes. But that was all handmade. It was a very poor, a very small room, about 4 meters by 3 meters or even smaller. And there he had his 2 people that helped him, assisted him in his work. And he repaired shoes and made new shoes.
Now, the people that worked for him, were they Jewish or no?
I don't know. I think they were all Jewish.
Right. Now, so was that a business that your father started himself, or did he inherit that?
But no, he made it himself. He not inherited it. You are asking, his father was the grocery owner.
Okay. And your mother, what was it, Malvin? Did she work?
No, she never worked, and her father was the Chazan in the shul in Harshan. She
So how
never
many-
worked. She never worked, and he took care of the house, not the house, the small apartment, and took care of the 3 children that we were.
So there were 3 children. What number were you of the 3?
I'm the smaller one. My brother was born in 1931, my sister 33, and I was born in 39.
And what was your brother's name?
My brother was Juri or Meir. In Israel, they call him Meir, and he's in Hungary, Juri, George.
Yeah.
And my sister name was Clara, and in Israel, Yafa.
So of the 5 people in your immediate family who survived the Holocaust,
No one, we survived, all the 3 of us, the 3 children, we survived the Holocaust. My mother, it was taken to Bergen-Belsen and killed there, died there. And my father joined the Hungarian army as a slave, the Jewish slaves, as they call him. And he was a shoemaker in the army. And he moved with the army to Austria and to help fighting the Russians. And he was killed in Graz. As far as we know very little about it, and we don't know where about. And he was killed in this area during the war. As far as we were told by, probably it's true, we don't know, that he tried to escape with a few people, the army, where the Russians came closer. And they caught him, the Germans or the Hungarians caught him and executed him.
how old was he?
He was 39 years old.
Okay.
And
Now-
my mother was 40. That's the, okay.
So when you were born, did you live in a house or an apartment?
No, we lived in a very small apartment. In an apartment, there was 1 room only. No toilets. The toilets, it was in a large apartment house that were the toilets were in the corridors for other people, for everybody. And the apartment was made of 1 room and 1 room, kitchen, and the place facing the street where my father used to work. The apartment itself was we were very poor family. We were very poor family.
Do you know how many beds there were?
How many what?
How many beds where people slept? You know,
There was 1 bed for our parents, and we used to sleep in a big oven in the kitchen. It was barzel. How do you call it, Ronnie?
Iron.
Iron oven, a big iron oven that the children, my sister and myself slept on it. And my brother slept with the parents in the room. And that was the story. That's the whole
Right now, when you're describing the apartment, this isn't from your own memory, is it? Or is this from what you were told?
No, this is from my memory. I was 5 years old, and that's what I remember. That's not what I was told. About
Okay.
later on about the Holocaust, etc. I was told the story from my brother and sister. My brother was 13, and my sister was 11.
So did you live in one of those big buildings that had a courtyard in the middle?
Yes, there was a court in the middle, and a big court, and a shelter in the middle of the building, and it was a 3-story building. By the way, I visited the building after the war and met even people that I knew. It was there. There were, as I told you, there were 3-story building.
Which floor did you live on?
Excuse me.
Which floor did you live on? You said it was 3 stories. So which,
No, we were on the basement,
the
basement of the building.
right? So your parents, they didn't own that. They rented it?
No, they rented it, and I know very little about the arrangement of renting or making or
Right.
what. Anyhow, during the war, when we were thrown out of the apartment when the German came and moved to another place, and we didn't own the apartment anyway. It was not our apartment.
Was that a Jewish neighborhood?
No, not really. There were no Jews in the building. We were the only Jews in the building. Jews.
Do you know anything about your neighbors? Do you know any of their names or anything about them?
Yes, I know their name. I met one of them, helped us even during the end of the war. We came to stay with one of the neighbors, and later on we visited them. They moved to the Balaton. The Balaton is a lake
Yeah, Lake
in
Balaton.
Hungary. They moved to the Balaton, and we came to visit them at that place. Only one of the families there. But when I visited Hungary later on, about 20 years ago, I met some people that they say that they remembered us. I really don't know. They
So
said
what was the
Okay.
name of the neighbors that you remember? Which neighbors do you remember?
What do you mean, which neighbors?
I
I remember.
asked you, what was their name? Yeah, I asked you, do you remember the name of any of your neighbors? Do you remember their last name?
Yes, I remember. I remember the name of them, but as far as I know, she passed away. Her name was Yutzi Neni. Neni is the lady, and her name was Yutzi. Yutzi, that was her name. They used to make it. That's even I remember because they gave us a lot. They had a home sweets operation. Sweets. They made sweets at home by hand.
Like candy?
Yes, candies, all kinds of candies. And when we came from when the Russian liberated Budapest and we tried to come back home, we couldn't. And they took us for a few weeks. We stayed with this family.
Yeah. Now, what was the address that you lived at or the street?
The street is Munkachi Mihai Utsa 37. That was the address.
Right.
Munkachi Mihai was a famous Hungarian painter, by the way. The name of the street is Munkachi Mihai Utsa. Utsa means street, and we lived at 37. The house does not exist anymore. When we were there last month, the house wasn't there.
So your father, did he make shoes mostly for Gentiles, or do you think his customers were Jewish?
For any client, anybody, but
Anyone?
I think that he mostly repaired shoes. He didn't make new shoes. He repaired mostly the shoes.
Right. Now, in Europe, you didn't have a refrigerator. So how did they keep the food cold?
We didn't have a refrigerator at home.
Yeah. So where would they keep the food to keep it cold?
In the kitchen. But she used to buy every day the food. We didn't have a refrigerator. We had, as I told you, a large stove where she made the food.
Okay. Now, the street that was in front of your house, was that a paved road with sidewalks, or was it made from cobblestones?
It was opposite our house by there was a big school that we lived there. There were stones, paved stones, and we used to play in the street.
So, and what did you see traveling in the street mostly? Was it, fiacres, horse and wagons, bicycles, people walking? Were there any automobiles? What did you see in the street?
In the street, we see very few automobiles. It was the 1940, very few automobiles, but there were automobiles, bicycles, and the people playing on the street. That's what I remember.
Was there a streetcar?
What do you, streetcar? You mean electrical streetcar or
Yeah,
what?
I think so. Yeah,
Not in our street, not in our street, but close by there was a Jewish hospital, and there was we lived, by the way, very close to the famous Hero Square in Budapest, not far from it, a few hundred meters, and I don't remember any public transportation in our street.
So did you live close to a train station?
What do you mean?
A railroad station. Did you live near a railroad station?
Railway station was not close to our place. I
So
don't
how would you-
remember, and I don't remember. Only after the war, I remember going by train. During the period from 39 to 44, I don't remember. I didn't travel by train. Practically I didn't travel anywhere except visiting some relatives that lived in the other side of Budapest, in the Buda side, going with the electric cars.
So Yitzhak, was your family, were they religious? Were they Orthodox?
No, they were not religious, but there were two holidays that I remember we kept. One was Yom Kippur, and the other one is Passover. These are the two holidays that I remember that we celebrated at home.
So did you keep kosher?
No.
And your father, Zoltan, was he a man, with a long beard and a hat?
No, we were not religious at all, and he was.
Was he clean shaven?
He looked very, very regular, like any Hungarian, like any other Hungarian. We were not religious at all in that respect.
Did he wear any type of special hat?
No, not at all, not at all.
Did he smoke?
No.
Okay. And now, when you were a kid, what kind of kid were you? Were you a good athlete? Were you good in school?
No, I didn't. I was 5 years old. I didn't go to school. I didn't go to kindergarten. But I remember my brother and sister going to school because it was, as I told you, opposite our apartment. In the same street, opposite, there is still the same school there. And they went to the school until the Germans in March 44 entered Hungary, where they had to force to leave the school at March 44. I didn't go to school. I used to play in the streets. That's all I remember. That's all I know.
So, do you have any memories of going swimming?
No.
Or sleigh riding in the snow?
No, nothing. No, no. There is snow, by the way, in Budapest in the winter, but no, we never went to skiing or anything. Just lived in the street. We had no money to do that, by the way. We had no money to go anywhere.
Right. And how tall are you today?
How what?
How tall are you? How high? Are you 5'7", 6 feet? How tall are you?
100. I can tell you in centimeters. I am 172 centimeters. I don't know. I don't know how it is. 170 centimeters.
That's 5'7".
Okay. And did you know were any of your grandparents alive?
I know very well where they lived. I heard a lot of stories about them. As I told you, my grandparents from my father's side live in a place called Mezochat. There is a very nice Jewish cemetery there now, which we visited last month. And there is a sign with the names of my grandparents and my grandmothers. They were killed in Auschwitz. My grandfather wasn't killed in Auschwitz. And there is a sign, there is a plaque, or how do you call it, with the names of all those people that were killed in during the Holocaust in Mezochat, in the Jewish cemetery in Mezochat.
So what were the names of your father's parents?
Marton Chilag.
Yeah. And who was the other? Do you know your grandmother's name?
Yes, just a minute. I have it here with me. My grandmother name was Lizzie Chilag.
Lizzie?
Marton and Lizzie Chilag. And
Right.
that's from my father's side. From my
Yeah.
mother's side, Samuel and Sarah Schwartz.
Okay. Now, were all of these grandparents, were they all alive when you were born?
Yes. No,
They're all-
Lizzie Chilag died when I was born, 1939. And Samuel and Sarah Schwartz were not alive when I was born. They
Okay.
died natural way.
And so what do you know about Martin? What did he do for a living, your grandfather? Your father?
He owned a grocery store in Mezochat. That I know. And I know that Samuel was a chazan in a shul.
Okay. And Martin, was he religious?
No,
Your father's? No?
no. From my mother's side, Samuel, they were religious. From my father's side, none. They were not religious. Okay, that's
Yeah, let me show you, Brad. We visited the place a couple of months ago, and there's this basically a sign at the cemetery with some of the names of the people. So Zoltan is
my father.
Right. So Zoltan, that's your father, right? Yeah.
That's my father.
These are his brothers.
And there is a mistake here. He was 39, not 36 when he died.
Okay.
And the other one, do you have the other one with Marton? Ronnie?
I'm paging now to see what I have. This is the cemetery. Here, this is the one.
Here is Yitzhak Marton. That's my. He was.
That's the grandfather.
That's my 80. Grandfather, and he was taken to Auschwitz in 1944, and he died there. Yitzhak Marton.
Does anyone maintain the cemetery, or?
Yeah, it's there. It's maintained. I mean, it's closed. It was closed when we came, but it's generally maintained. This is the sign on the outside.
There is a European organization that takes care of, if not only this, but a few cemeteries in Europe at large. And this is one of the cemeteries that they take care of it and maintain it. There is a person that is responsible for cleaning, etc. And I met him in the past, not now, not this time. He wasn't there, which I tried to meet him.
This is the paper that you showed us with the history.
Right.
Right. So you can see
as you can see from my father's side, there were 11 brothers and sisters, and none of them is alive. All of them died during the Holocaust, or some of them were in the concentration camp, and some of them in the army. 5 or 6.
So are we on the tape now or no?
Yeah.
Excuse me?
Are we being recorded now?
Yes, everything is recorded.
Yeah, okay, I didn't know. Okay. So what were the names of your father's brothers and sisters?
My father's brother and sister, you have the names here as you can see him. There were 11 people that the guys were Samuel, Shandor, Rudolph,
Samuel,
Bela, Zoltan. Samuel, Shandor, Rudolph, Bela, Zoltan.
Rudolph,
Bela and Zoltan.
Brad, are you
Bella,
able to see? It's the sort of on this picture that I'm showing you.
Hmm?
Bella, yeah, Sander, Zoltan. Okay. And then who's
And
Regina?
from the girls were Regina, Berta,
Wasn't Bella a girl?
Rosie, Chili, and Erzi.
Isn't Bella a
These are-
girl or no?
Excuse me?
You said Bella. Wasn't that a girl or that's okay?
The girls were Regina, Berta, Rosie, Chili, and Erzi. The Hungarian names.
Yeah.
And some of the kids here, or some of the children, their children are living in the United States. One or two of them, we have no connection with them.
Right. So, what do you know about your father's brother Samuel?
No, I know nothing. Nothing.
Did anybody from his family survive?
No, none,
None.
none. All
Okay.
this, all the people that you see here, 11 people, or were killed, or in the concentration camps, or in the army, and their children. Some of them moved to Israel, some of them moved to United States. One of them lived or used to live in Budapest, but the only three children are I knew them. One of the children we even met now. One of the children of children, not the children.
Okay. I mean, so do you know anything about your father's brothers and sisters? Do you know
No.
any what any of
No.
them did for a living, or
No, nothing.
were they all
Nothing.
married?
Not no, we know nothing about them. I tried to gather some information from various places. I couldn't find any. No information.
So, who do you think came from a more religious background, your father or your mother?
My mother, no question about it.
Why do you say that?
Because her father was a chazan in a shul.
Okay.
You know what chazan is?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so now your mother's parents, what do you know about them? Samuel, do you know where they lived or what they did for a living?
Yeah, I know that he was a chazan, as I told you, in a shul, in a bet knesset, and synagogue. Okay, he was a chazan in a synagogue. I don't know what about their how they died or anything, but we had good connections with the family or the brothers and sisters, some of my mother. We had good connections, and we know that they lived after the Holocaust.
Right.
But
From
Dad, you have
I'm
relationships with, people like Edith, right? She's 98 years old now.
Yeah, no, but I'm talking about the father of Edith and the family, the brothers and sisters of my mother. They were 6, 7. I have here the names, not like you, but they were 7 kids, and we met some of them in Israel. 2 of them lived in Israel. One of them was Hermin. Hermin was the sister of my mother who took care of us after the Holocaust in Hungary, and she came to live in Israel. And the other one, all of them lived after the Holocaust. All this family from my mother's side, surprisingly, they lived after the Holocaust, and some of them lived in Israel, and some of them in the United States.
So what were the names of your mother's brothers and sisters?
Okay, one of them was Shandor. Shandor came to Israel after the war, and he has here a family, a daughter and a boy. The other one was Manyhart, Menyhart. He also came to Israel, and after 2 or 3 years, he lived to the United States. Hermin was the sister of my mother. She took care of us after the war and came to live in Israel. And Margit, we don't know about her. There was a Miklos, the father of a few people who live in Israel. And Yen is the father of cousin Edith, her name. She was yesterday 98 years old. That's what we have. He has also a brother, Karulo Lali.
Now, where did these people live before the war? Did they live in Budapest, or where did they live?
No, as I told you, they all lived in the village that called Harshan, and after the war, they moved to Israel, some of them, and some of them to the United States.
How did they survive the war?
I don't know.
I mean, do you think that they were shipped to like the Budapest ghetto and they survived in the ghetto, or they survived?
I know that Hermin survived. She lived in Budapest, and she survived because in Budapest about 100,000 Jews survived. The other ones, I don't know really how did they survive, but they lived in Budapest. Like Shandor lived in Budapest, Manyhart lived in Budapest, and Yeno lived in Miskolc, and I do not know how he survived. So there are people that I know that lived in Budapest and survived, and some of them I don't know really how did they survive. And I had no, by the way, I had no connection with them after the war, nothing, not at all, except there is some of the children that lived in Israel, we were connected with them.
Okay. And so during the war, how did you get around? On foot or bicycle, horse and buggy, streetcar? How did they travel during the war?
Who?
Your family. How would you travel when you were little during the?
Okay, we didn't travel. My brother was, as I told, had to force him to join the army, the Hungarian army. My mother stayed with us in a protected home at Munkac 29. We moved from our apartment by force to a house close to our apartment that were the Jews put together, all of them.
So why did you have to force your brother to join the army?
My father?
You just said that you had a force. I thought you said, did you say your father or your brother? Who went to the?
No, my father.
So why did you have to force
my brother was 13 years old.
Yeah. So why did you have to force your father to go to the army?
The Hungarian forced him.
Oh, they forced him. Okay.
The Hungarian forced him, all the Jews, but it was not it was a slaves army, we call him, working units. It was not a fighting unit. They helped the Hungarian army from the logistics side. And as I told you, my father repaired the shoes for the soldiers. That's what he did in the army. He didn't fight or join the fightings. They didn't allow him. He was wearing also a yellow patch on his head. He was known as a Jew, like all the other Jews in the Hungarian army.
Right. So now, before the war, did you have electricity in the apartment?
Yes. We had electricity, yes.
And was the bathroom, was that inside the apartment or outside?
Outside.
Where was it?
It was in the corridor beside our apartment, a toilet and a shower. That's all. Not in our apartment, not inside the apartment. It was outside the apartment, and it was used by all the neighbors, not only we. It was not a personal toilet, not a personal shower. It was for there were in the house a few places like this, a few toilets and a few showers.
So whose job was it to clean that bathroom out periodically?
There was the people in the house. They took a turn. They cleaned it.
So do you still remember what they used for toilet paper before the war?
No, I don't remember. Really,
No?
I don't remember. No,
You know?
no, I
Okay.
don't know.
And did you have running water?
At home, yes, we had one in the kitchen, one faucet in the kitchen.
Okay. Did you have hot water?
No, we didn't have hot water. We used to heat the water on the oven, on the iron oven that we had. We didn't have hot waters, and in Hungary in the winter it's very cold.
What did they use to heat the oven?
Coal, coal or wood. Wood, usually
Right.
wood. It was a huge, about the size of 2 meter length. You know, where you put the wood inside and you light it and it hits the iron.
So do you still remember how you took a bath?
Yes, I remember. We took a paila, we call it, and
Right.
we were sitting in the paila, and my mother was pouring water on me.
So would everybody take a bath in the same order, all the children, or was it?
No, the children took the bath, and
Yeah, but was everyone took a
and
bath?
frankly, I don't know how my father and mother took the bath. I don't know. I
Right.
don't remember.
I mean,
I don't remember. I don't know.
do you ever remember going to a public bath or like a mikveh or
No, never.
no?
No, we didn't go to a mikveh. Didn't go anywhere.
And Yitzhak, do you still have any memories of how they wash clothing?
About what?
How did they wash clothing before the
איך
war?
רחצו בגדים.
Okay. In the same way that they washed us. They in the paila, they put water in a paila, we call it, or a big, and they pour water in it. That's all, by hand. That's all. They washed it as you see it today in these days in India, probably.
Right. So where did they dry the clothing?
They dry it in the apartment. They hang it on the kitchen, on the chair, on places like this.
Right. And do you remember how they iron clothing?
No, I don't remember. They
No.
had an iron for sure. They had this iron, the simple irons that you put in also again coal and you heat them, but I don't remember. I don't remember
Right.
this thing.
And you didn't have a telephone, did you?
No, we didn't have a telephone. There were in the street, there was a barber. I remember it because there's a famous story that there was a barber that he was the one that owned the phone. And when we needed to call, or practically when I was born, they called from the hospital the barber, and the barber ran to my father and told him that I was born. That was the way it was done.
Okay, so you were born in a hospital?
Yes, I was born in a Jewish hospital not far from our place.
And do you think your brother and sister were also born in the hospital?
They born in the same hospital because the hospital exists even now. It was a Jewish hospital. Now it's a regular hospital, but it was a Jewish hospital not far from our apartment.
Right. So do you have any memories of having toys to play with when you were little?
What do you mean?
You know, like toys, like a toy train or
איזה
No,
משחקים היו לך?
I had no toys. We were playing on the street with the other children. I had no toys, no ball, nothing, practically nothing. No.
so what kind of games did you play? Do you remember?
We played on the street the games that with the ball we played with other children, catching each other. I don't remember. I don't recall the names of the games, but we were playing on the street to jump from one place to another, covering it. Street plays.
So, I mean, do you think it was better the way it was when you were little and hungry, or the way it is in Israel and the United States where the kids have too many toys?
That's
I mean, is it better to have nothing or is it better to have too much?
we were born okay. We were born okay. We were grown okay. It's okay. That's not the problem, really.
Okay.
But we were very poor, and I believe that probably other children had more than we had. And as an example, I know that my brother was invited. He was 13 years old, 12 years old. He was invited to others to eat something in their home because they knew that we do not have food, for instance.
Good. And how did you get shoes? Did you get shoes from your father?
Yes,
Would
I
you
got
make-
shoes only from my father. He made for me every birthday a pair of shoes.
Okay. And how did you get clothing? Did you go to a Schneider or did you go to a store to get clothing?
Clothing, my mother brought us clothing. I never went to a store or something like that. My mother brought, probably my father too, but I was 5 years old, and my brother and sister also. The parents bought the clothes for the children.
I mean, do you think that the clothing you had was mostly hand-me-downs? You know, from maybe either your brother or cousins or something? Or do you think it was new clothing that you wore?
I think they got new clothing, but very few.
Do you have any memories of your parents getting newspapers?
No, they never got the newspapers, but we had a radio at home. We have very at that time, you know, the big radios. We had a radio at home and we listened. I remember that my father and mother listened to the news.
Okay.
But no newspaper, nothing. No.
Did you have a gramophone?
No,
No.
for sure no.
And you never had a maid, a housekeeper?
No, never.
No. And did anyone in your family play musical instrument?
No.
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 And do you have any
But
memories?
they were, by the way, they were my brother and sister were singing in the school and in performances. They were singing very nice. That's I remember.
Do you
But,
remember
but
anything about?
no instruments.
Do you remember anything about what they sang?
Hungarian songs, yes.
Do you know any of those songs that
No,
they sang?
I don't know.
Okay.
There is a movie that I can show you a funny Hungarian song, but I don't remember.
And
I remember that they were singing, but I don't remember the name of the song.
do you have any memories of going on vacations?
Me personally, no, but I know that my sister and my brother, on the holiday from the school, they used to go to the grandparents in Harshan, to the grandparents of my mother, not my father, of my mother. They
How
used
would
to
they-
go there. They used to go there for a few weeks and until the school started again.
How would they travel to go there?
By train.
And do you know?
He wrote my brother tells about it. He remembers it very well, or remembered it very well. He passed
So
away.
what are some of the things that he remembers from what did they do when they would go there?
They were playing. They were playing with horses, cows. It is these villages, local villages. They were in the outside in the forest. They enjoyed it very much. They remembered it and enjoyed it very much.
So were you bar mitzvahed after the war?
I had a bar mitzvah in Israel. Yes,
When you were 13?
yes.
So what do you remember about Yitzhak Kohavi's bar mitzvah?
I remember it was in the home of Hermin, of the sister of my mother in Haifa, close to Haifa. And we were all the family together, my brother and my sister. And that's all, by the way. No, and we had a lunch, a Hungarian lunch, and I got a watch, my first watch as a present from my brother. That was my bar mitzvah. I didn't go to the shul or the synagogue or anything.
Do you still have that watch?
No,
No.
no.
Okay. And were your parents, was your family, were they Zionists before the war?
Whatever.
Zionists, you know, about going to Palestine?
Zionim.
Or,
Ma?
האם הם היו ציונים?
No,
no?
not at all. Not at all.
Okay. And so you would say before the war, you would say your family was very poor?
Yes,
Were you hungry sometimes?
yes. Many times, not sometimes.
So what would happen when you were hungry?
Look, our food was very, very, very simple Hungarian food. Usually it was noodles with poppy seed. We rarely, very rarely, we had meat or something like that. Beans, the simplest food that, or potatoes, the simplest food that you can think about.
Okay. And do you think that your friends were mostly Jewish before the war, or no, or they weren't Jewish?
No, non-Jewish, none.
Do you know the names of any of your friends from before the war?
No.
No.
No, but first, as I told you, I was 5 years old, and I don't know. I practically I had only one friend in my age that I met her a few times when visiting Hungary later. It was the daughter of this woman that I told you about, Yutzineni. Her name was Eva.
Okay.
And I think she's still alive, but we have no connection. Last time, I think I was there with my brother. I met her 10 years ago.
So
She was very poor, by the way.
do you remember anti-Semitism before the war?
No. But I remember, not I, but I know the stories of during the war.
So when you were a kid, would you say that, were you a strong kid or a weak kid?
I never was a strong kid.
Okay. And I mean, were you afraid to go out on Easter or Christmas?
No, not only when the Germans entered Hungary, we were afraid, of course, to go out. But before that, no. We lived, we didn't realize what's going on even. We just lived as anybody else in Hungary. We didn't realize what's going on.
So did you,
Hungary was the last country that the Germans conquered in March 44, a year before the war ended. Until then, our life was nearly normal, in any way that you can think about it. Normal life.
right. Did you observe Shabbos?
No,
No.
no.
What about Purim or Sukkot?
No.
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 But you mentioned before that you remember Pesach. What do you remember about
I
Pesach?
told you that I remember Pesach and Yom Kippur. That's all.
So what do you
Pesach,
remember
I
about?
remember that we had a dinner, family dinner, not kosher, normal, but we sit together, all of us. My mother light candles, and we talked about it. That's a holiday, Pesach. We didn't read the Haggadah, but we had a dinner, remembering that it's Pesach. That's all.
Did you have matzah?
No,
No.
no.
Okay. And you said you also remember Yom Kippur?
I remember Yom Kippur as a holiday that my mother was the only one that talked about it. I don't know even if she ate or no. I don't know. I don't know. But I know that she thought about it, that this is a very important holiday.
Did your family ever go to a shul, a synagogue, or
No.
was there a shul near you?
I don't know.
You don't know?
But practically in Budapest, there are a few shuls. Probably there was one, but I don't know.
And you don't remember Hanukkah at all?
No, not at all. Hanukkah is not a real Jewish holiday.
And
Not
you
a
didn't have,
not a sacred holiday anyway. It's
you didn't have any education before the war? No school?
education. Me, no.
No.
No, but I told you, my brother and sister had a normal Hungarian education, not a Jewish education. They went to school and they studied, and then they had a normal life. Before March 44, our life, my brother life, my sister life was normal until the Germans entered Hungary.
Right. So what language did you speak before the
Hungarian,
war?
only Hungarian,
What about your parents?
only Hungarian, no Yiddish, nothing.
Now, did you speak good Hungarian, or did you speak Hungarian like a Jew?
No, Hungarian, real Hungarian.
Right. Okay. And how did your family take photographs before the war?
What they did?
How did they take pictures? You know,
Pictures?
yeah. Like with a camera. Did you have a
No,
camera?
no. We didn't have cameras. We have very few pictures. We have one of them, a picture of when they married. I can show you the picture. It's here behind me. Do you see this picture? That's a picture of the marriage of my father and my mother in 1930. That's the picture.
Oh, so you put color in it? You made it color?
No, it was black and white, but somebody here in Israel colored it. You can color now anything.
Right.
Anyhow, then there was a picture, there is a picture of me when I was born with my brother and mother. And we had a picture of the three of us. It was in 1944. I can show you the picture. This is the picture of the three of us. You see,
Right.
I was here 5 years old. My sister 11, my brother 12. This is the picture.
Right.
Then that's all. We have a picture of my father. Little bit later on, we have one picture of him in his shoemaker shop, and that's all. We have only very few pictures. You can count yeah, that's the picture.
Right. Okay.
Brad, I sent you the link to this book, but there's a book on his brother, and it has
That's
a few
the book
photos.
of my brother that his daughter wrote it. and that's his story, our story,
So,
his story.
yeah, this is on the left is my dad and then his sister and brother.
Yeah.
Okay, are we still being recorded now?
Yes.
Because I don't see you or any, so do you ever remember being sick before the war?
Call from 530.
I was sick during the war, very sick. I had typhus. I don't remember before the war that I was sick. But probably I had, I don't remember.
So would a doctor come to the house or did you go to the doctor?
I never, a doctor never came to our house. I don't remember going to a doctor. I don't remember that any one of us went ever to a doctor. I don't remember. Probably yes. Probably the answer is yes. I don't remember.
And now, anything else that you can remember from before the war that's important? Do you remember any stories about your brother or your sister or from before the war?
As I told you, before the war, or not before the war, until 44. That for me, before the war is until 44.
Yeah.
The important is that we live normal life, and we were playing and learning and eating and having fun, and lived well until the Germans came into Hungary. And
So-
we went to see relatives in Budapest. My brother and sister went to see the grandparents. I stayed all the time at home. That's all. And my father. I know one thing that I heard, that he used to go to bet on horse racing. That I remember. He tried to be rich like all the poor people, and he lost money going to bet on horse races. That's I know.
Right.
If it's that's probably the life of Zeo. That's it.
So you would say you had a happy childhood?
I think I had a good childhood.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do I get the Zoom so I could see you? It says open Zoom meeting. Should I click that or?
What?
What do you mean to see him? You don't see
I
him?
don't see any of you. There's something, let me click open Zoom meeting. Okay, there
I
you
see
are.
you very well.
Yeah,
Yeah, now I see you.
we all
Yeah,
see
some-
you. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Huh?
Yeah, I didn't see you before. Okay, so we doing okay in terms of?
Now you see us. Now you see
Yeah,
us.
now I see you, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, you doing okay in terms of time? You want to continue?
Yes.
Well, okay. So when did things start to get bad for you in Europe?
Before the Germans enter Hungary in March 44, they took our father. The Hungarian army, they took him. He stopped working, and we left with our mother in the same apartment, and our father came very rarely. I think once a month or something like this. The Hungarian army took him. That's the first thing that I remember.
Do you remember that? Do you actually remember when they took him or?
I don't know exactly the date, but I remember us living without our father for a few months at least. For a few months. But the real change came in March 44. In March 44, when the Germans entered Hungary, and the Hungarian government came with the laws, the anti-Jewish laws, and they simply took us from our apartment and put us in a house nearby that only for Jews. They call it protected house, or I don't know but the exact name, but it was a house with a big sign of Magen David, and this only for Jews. And we lived a few families in a small apartment. We had all of us one room, no bathroom, nothing. Then my brother was thrown out of school, my brother and sister, and we couldn't go out in the streets. We had to wear the yellow Magen David on ourselves, not me, but anybody above 6 years old. And we couldn't go out to the street after 6 o'clock. That's when everything started to be real bad, real bad.
Where did they get the star from? The yellow, the Mogen David. Where did they get that from?
They get it from any tailor or anybody. They made it. They had to make it.
Now, would you say that did you look Jewish? You know, some Jews have blonde hair and blue eyes, so they don't look like Jews. Did you look like you were Jewish?
No, I don't think that we will look Jewish.
Your
I
whole
don't
family
think
didn't
so.
look Jewish?
Even now, I do not look Jewish.
Right. So what about the rest of your family? Would you say they look Jewish or
No, none.
no?
No, not my mother, not my father, not my brother, none.
And what happened to the radio? Did they have to give in the radio?
We didn't. It was prohibited to listen to the radio. It was prohibited. We couldn't. Anybody that listened to the radio was taken. It was punishment when you listen to radio. It's one of the laws that were imposed on us.
Right. So how were you able to get food? You know, if once your father was gone, how were you able? You didn't have any money, so how did you get food?
With the help of neighbors. Only Christian neighbors, and we collected food on the streets, and we really lived in a very, very low level.
Now, your neighbors, were they still friendly with you, or were they anti-Semitic, the neighbors?
They were not anti-Semitic, but they didn't want any touch with us. They didn't fought with us or quarreled with us, but they didn't want anything with us. One day, except this Yutzeneni that I told you, she tried to help us secretly, but very little. She couldn't. She was afraid also. Very little.
What about the other children? Like the children your age?
The other children, any connection with the children stopped immediately. And the children, the Hungarian children, if they saw us doing anything that is wrong, they went to the police and reported us. The Hungarians are not better than the Germans.
So was anyone in your family ever reported?
No.
Oh.
No,
So
because we were living in the apartment. We did nothing wrong. We lived there, and that's all. We lived there. Our father was in the army, and we lived in the apartment of my mother and the 3 children. We lived in the house and the one room.
Were there other people in that room too, or just your family?
As I told you, we lived in one apartment, a few families, all Jewish. And in this place, in this house, the Jews try to arrange a kind of living for themselves. They try to take care of the children, find food together. There was a kind of cooperation among the families that live in this house, and even teaching the small children, or even the big children. They try to read them, help them, do something. But remember, it was for a very short period. It was for a short time. It was from April 44 until October 44. That's the time when we lived in this house.
Now, you said there were several families in that one room?
Yes.
So
not in one room, in one apartment.
apartment.
Everybody had a room. One room. Every family had one room in an apartment. Let's say the apartment had 3 rooms. 3 families lived in the same apartment.
So how many people was that total, would you say? In your family, there were 4, right? The 3 of you, and
in
then
my
the
family,
mother.
we were 4. And then when my father came, he joined us also once in a few weeks. But there were families like us in other places. All of them are Jewish that we didn't know them even before.
Do you remember what that room looked like? What was in that room?
No, no. Very,
mean, what-
very poor room and a table, bed, some chairs. I don't remember. I know that it was very poor place.
Now, this was inside the ghetto, right?
No, it was not in the ghetto.
No?
It was a three. It was few houses from our home. It was a protected house. It was not. It was not in the ghetto. It was there were in Budapest protected houses like this. The Jews were in these houses until they were deported to concentration camps in Germany, in Poland, etc. But this is the first stage of the annihilation of the Jewish in Budapest.
So how did you get food?
We got food from the street, collecting foods. They had some money, maybe, probably, and from among the Israelis, there were, by the way, Jewish organization that tried to help these houses, but very little food. We got very little food. We were hungry most of the time.
Did people die?
No.
No.
I don't remember anyone that died until they were taken.
So do you remember any stories about being in that house? Did you go outside the house?
Yes, we could go outside the house to the street until 6 o'clock in the evening. After 6 o'clock, we had to stay in the house. We couldn't go out. But until 6 o'clock, we could go out. We could go out as usual, and it was bad. It was not, we didn't like to go out. We didn't like to go out because people pointed us, the Jews, and there was anti-Semitism in Budapest at these times.
Did you see German soldiers?
No, there were no Germans until the Germans in Budapest, they came in much later. Hungary, they conquered in March 44, and all the villages where there were with soldiers, but no, I didn't see German soldiers, and what we saw are more Hungarian soldiers from some of them from the Aero Cross, and some of them just Hungarian soldiers that did what the Germans told them to do.
Now, do you think that your parents had any idea what was happening in Poland? Do you think they knew about concentration camps or Auschwitz or?
I don't know. I don't think so, but I don't know. I don't think that they knew, but probably later on, when they started to take the Jews and take them to the concentration camps, then they felt that something is happening, and they tried to find solution for the children, and that's the way. Okay.
Okay. Do you remember any stories that happened when you were in this house?
No.
Anything?
No, nothing. I remember. No.
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 So you were there, you said what, till October?
Until October, we were there. In October, they started to send the Jews from these houses to the camps, to Auschwitz, to Bergen-Belsen. And at that time, I don't know even how, my mother knew about those houses, for protected houses for children only for children, protected places for children, protected houses for children. And they took us to one of these houses at Dobutsa 90. And she left us, and we never saw her again. She took us, I remember, I was told, I don't remember, but I was told that it was in the 7th of November. And then she left, hugged us, said, she will come back soon, and she never came back.
Do you know what happened to her?
Yes, of course. She were taken to the train station on the 7th or 8th of November, and were taken to Bergen-Belsen and died there. And later on, we know that story because her sister was with her, and her sister simply ran away from the stairs, from the train station. She told my mother, "You have 3 children, run away. The soldiers do not pay attention. You can go away, nothing will happen." My mother said, "I am afraid." And she didn't run away. My sister ran away. And she lived in Budapest undercover with forged papers until the Russian came. Or until a few months later, she hid even in our apartment alone.
So this house that you went to, was this in the ghetto?
The house that we were in,
Yeah, the 3 children. Yeah, were you in the ghetto? Yeah.
it was very close in the ghetto. It was there were 52 houses like this in Budapest, 52 apartment houses that arranged by the young Zionists that came from Israel, probably, mainly, and they arranged safeguard for children only. And our house was the first house, the Dobutza, Rehov Dob, Robotsa Street 90. It was the first house. It was a Jewish leather plant that the Jews had nothing more to do with the leather plant, so they gave it to put children there. We don't know whether it was connected with Raoul Wallenberg or with the Spanish. We don't know exactly who was responsible to it, and we lived there until we were there in the basement, hundreds of people in a small basements, hungry, no food, afraid of the Arrow Cross people that came in.
Here,
That's the place that
Brad, we're there a couple of months ago. So this is the door that led to this shelter that they were in.
We were there, and this is the door. This is a basement. Now they are working there. It's a huge, not huge, a room that a few hundreds of people were there lying on the floor. And the children like me were there in this place. And we were there until the Russian came and liberated Hungary.
There's a little plaque there. This is actually how I found you, Brad. We saw this plaque. If you notice, it says 2022 is recent, and it has this name, Andrew Fuchs, that I wrote down, and then I found that you interviewed him.
Yeah, that's an unusual way to have found me. Yeah.
That's the first time that we saw this plaque. We didn't see it before. Every time that I'm in Budapest, I'm going to see this place. I have to see it. They do not let us go down to the basement. It is a water organization of Budapest.
It's the irrigation department. Here's the address. It's the Dobutza 90.
Yeah, that's the place. And it was, as I told you, it was the first place among 52 places in Hungary, in Budapest, probably unique in Europe. I don't know about places similar to this in other countries in Europe, that the children were hid there. And as far as I know, 6,000 children were saved this way.
Now, you said that this was number 1. What do you mean it was number 1?
The first one. That's what I say. It was the first. That's we know for sure. It was the first place to hide children in Budapest, to keep children in Budapest. Dobutza 90. It's written in the history books, etc.
I mean, was everyone kept in the basement, or were there different floors upstairs too?
With us, only in the basement. The others, I don't know. I don't know the other places. There were 52 places altogether. I don't know about the other places. There is a list of all these places. I have the list of all these places, all
And
the
now,
52 places, but I don't know where they were, what they, I know the address, but I never visited them. I never
did you
saw
have
them.
any belongings? Did your mother give you a suitcase?
No, nothing. We have the clothes that we came in, nothing at all, nothing. No clothes, no food, nothing at all, nothing at all. Our big brother, he was 13 years old. He used to go to the streets and look for food, and some food were brought in from by the Zionist young people that took care of us. And that's, by the way, on the plaque, it's written there that the Zionists, the young Zionists kept the place and kept the place that those people from the Arrow Cross that tried to enter and tried to take us, they kept us, they kept again. They were there to guard us, let's put it that way.
How old were the children?
The children there, my age, I was 5 years old, 6, from 5 to maybe younger until 14, 13, 14. The other were taken to by the Hungarians, by the German, to working unions, etc.
And what's your best guess? How many children were there? About how many?
In the same place,
Yeah,
I guess about 300, 400
in one basement?
in one basement, yes. And we slept each one beside the other in one
Uh,
basement. A
you-
few hundred for sure.
Did you ever go outside?
Yes, we go outside. We could go outside. We go outside, especially when the Americans mainly bombed Budapest. Then everybody ran away. The streets were empty. We were going out to see the red skies. Budapest was burning. That was our. That's
So how long
what
were
we
you in
like
this?
to. Excuse me.
How long were you in this basement for?
We were from 7th of November until the 15th of January. 3
So-
months. November, December, January. 3 months.
A little over 2 months more. Yeah, okay.
We were 3 months.
Was it very cold in there?
Very cold, yes. You are right. 2 months and probably 15 days. Okay.
And so, did you have, were there any beds in there or blankets or?
We were some few things, a few blankets, only blankets, nothing more. We had blankets, yes.
Were there any adults in there?
There were one adult, a family of adults that was responsible for the place. He was from the Jewish organization. He was responsible for the arrangement for the place. And there were, as I told you, a few, I don't know how, young Israelis, Zionist Israelis.
Right. So did you have lice? Did you have bugs?
Of course, everything. I
What
had
is-
typhus. I got typhus there. I was very sick. I had a very high temperature, 40 or something like that. I was very, very sick there, very sick. Not only me, many people that were sick there. I don't remember anybody dying there, but I know that they were very, very sick.
I mean, usually if people are getting typhus, some people are dying. Do you think that maybe you don't remember it, but that people died?
No, I don't know. I
No,
don't think that people died there, but I know that I had typhus.
Right. What did they do to try to get rid of the lice?
Nothing.
Nothing?
What could they do?
Were there any mice or rats or
I don't remember. I don't think. I don't remember. Let's put it that
were there
way.
lights? Were there lights so you could see?
Yes, there was electricity there.
And how did you get like water?
From the outside, not in the basement, from the outside. It's a big house, by the way, as you can see from the picture. It is the same house now as it was before. So there were probably other people living there. There was water there, electricity.
What about a
And
bathroom?
it was as I told you, it was a place, a Jewish place where leather, they work with leather, there in the same place. So there was running water and things like that.
What about a bathroom?
No bedroom, no way, no way.
What did they use for a bathroom?
Going outside in the snow, in everywhere, the toilets, etc. Nothing.
So do you remember what kind of food you would get when you were there?
We got, if it was from the place itself, from their Jewish arrangements, we got some soup, very little soup, but my brother used to go outside and always found a piece of bread or a piece of something, sugar, something that he used to bring us, but from the outside.
You know how he got it? Would he steal these things?
He went to the streets. He used to go, by the way, by foot, visiting. It's a few, not very close, but he used to go to our apartment where we lived when nobody saw him. And he was afraid, of course, that somebody will see him and he will be given to the arrow rows or the police, etc. He brought us, my brothers brought us food, but very few, very little.
So how would he? I don't understand. But how did he get the food? Did he steal the food, or did people give the food to him?
He found food in the how do you call it, Ronnie? Pachei ashpa, no?
In the garbage cans.
Garbage cans. Garbage can, and so not very rarely we used to eat snow. We ate snow.
Right.
There was nothing else. We just went outside. It's winter at that time in Budapest. There is snow all around. We used to eat snow. That's all. The snow is water. We used to eat snow.
What about grass?
No.
No. Now, did you see airplanes coming overhead?
Yes. We saw airplanes, we hear them. We, as I told you, we went out to see them. All the Hungarians ran away, were afraid. Budapest was bombed very badly. All the skies were red. There was fire everywhere, and we went out at that times, during the times when the Hungarians ran away.
I mean, did you understand that the Germans wanted to kill all the Jews?
No.
No.
And I think that the problem was not with the Germans, more with the Arrow Cross people, who were more cruel, and their deed was much worse than the German. The German took the Jews to concentration camps. The Arrow Cross Hungarians killed them in Budapest, killed them in the Danube. You know the shoe, the famous shoe. No, how do you call it, Ronnie?
Yeah, they have the shoes by the water.
The shoe memorial.
Yeah, shoes, but maybe shoe memorial. And the Jews were killed more by the Arrow Cross Hungarians than the Germans.
This is the memorial. We went to see it.
Yeah.
So they used to just put people in here, have them step out of their shoes so they can keep their shoes, and then shoot them, and the bodies would fall into the river.
Right.
Probably, as far as we know, about 10,000 Jews were killed that way. They were tied together in order to save ammunition. They shoot one of them, the two of them fall to the river and drowned. And about 10,000 Jews were killed that way.
Now, how were they able to protect you? Yeah, how come no one ever came and took you?
As I told you, we were protected only by young Israelis. They tried to take us. They knocked on our door, and these young people many times shouted at them, fought with them handily, and then they ran away. Look, 100,000, more than 100,000 Jews in Budapest were died during that time. And because of I want to say something, that if the Russian wouldn't come, our turn would have come.
Right.
It was a question of time. That's all. That's all.
So
The
were you
question of,
starving?
a few weeks more, a few months more, we wouldn't survive the place. We wouldn't.
So you would say you were starving?
Yes, for sure.
Right. So between you, your sister, and your brother, who do you think was in the best condition or the worst condition?
The worst condition was we had nothing to eat.
No, but I'm asking between the three of you, who was in the worst condition?
Me, for sure.
You?
For sure, me, yes. Because I was 6 years old, 5 years old, 6 years old. I was sick. I was small. I was born small, very small.
Right.
And I was in the worst condition, no
Now,
question.
do you think the fact that you were small helped you? Because you need less food when you're small.
Probably, yes. I don't know if it helped me or not. It was, it was a very bad, conditions, very bad conditions for all of us, for all of us, for
What did-
everybody that was there. It was terrible situation, terrible
Now-
situation.
Did your brother and sister try to take care of you?
Of course, yes.
What did they do to try to help you?
First of all, the food. The food that my brother found or brought. First of all, it was given to me. Later on, to them. And they gave us the blanket. They hugged me, and they tried to help me as much as they can. I was 6 years old. Not even 6 years old. Less than 6
How
years.
often did your brother go out to find food?
What do you mean?
Did he go out every day or once a week or?
No, every time that he could. It couldn't be twice a week, try 3 times a week, wherever he could, wherever the situation allowed it. Mainly when there are bombings and no people in the streets, he went out to find food.
Now, was this during the daytime or nighttime that he would go out?
Daytime. Nighttime, it was dangerous completely. He couldn't go out there nighttime. Nighttime, if somebody would see him, he would shoot him, for sure.
Right. And
So,
do you
but
remember?
I want still to say that we got some food from the place itself, from the organization, from the people that organized it. We got some soup, some bread, a little food we got from them. It was not only that we were without food at all. We got food from them.
And what would you do in there? Did you ever remember singing songs or?
No,
No,
we
nothing?
did nothing. We did nothing. We were there and not singing song, nothing. We did nothing.
Now, were you always in the same spot in the basement, or did you move around a lot? Did you have your own place where you had to stay?
As far as I was at the same place all the time.
In the same place?
Yes.
Was this like by the wall or in a corner? Was it in the middle of the basement or
I remember that it was in the middle somewhere,
in the
among
middle?
the people, among the people.
Yeah. I mean, do you remember talking with it to other children at all? Children your age or?
Yeah, we were talking. We were probably I don't remember exactly what we were talking, playing games or something like that. But we did something, but I don't remember. I don't recall it.
Now, was this just one room, the basement?
The one room, yes, one big room. Yes, one big room.
Right.
Very, very big room, very big room. It was, as I told you, a kind of industry or something like that.
So
Now
when
they now they are working there.
did your brother and sister get typhus also?
No, no.
Oh, and what did they do for you when you had typhus?
Just brought water and putting on my head some water, etc. Nothing. Nothing else. They couldn't do anything. No doctor, nothing.
So no one in your family ever went into the ghetto?
No,
No one ever went inside the ghetto?
no, no.
No?
We were not. The house was in outside the ghetto. This house, and my parents were not there, so no one from my family went to the ghetto.
Now, were there
But
any,
by the way, by the German law, the place that we were there, it considered a part of the ghetto. By the German law,
right,
in order of their considerations for some payments, etc. It was part of the ghetto, but practically it was not a part of the ghetto.
so were there any Gentiles that helped you during the war? Like any of the people you said, any of your neighbors, were any of them trying to help you?
No,
No?
no. Only after the war, when we were released from this place, or when not were released, the Russian came in, so we led the place to our home. Then we got some help from one of the neighbors.
Now, if the war didn't end when it ended, how much longer do you think you could have survived?
We couldn't survive. I think it was a question of weeks. Question of weeks. We couldn't. We wouldn't survive. We wouldn't, probably because of the Hungarians, because the people are Hungarian. At the end, there were some of these houses that they entered and killed the people there, killed the children there. There were some houses. Out of the 52 houses that were like this, some of them they entered. It was a question of if you could fight them. You could, or they had enough people to enter, enough ammunition, enough rifles. It was a question of time, to my opinion, a question of time. Question of short time, not long time.
So if you had to say that there was something during the war that was really a miracle, what would you say happened? That was a miracle that.
The miracle was really, to my opinion, that the war went that way, that instead of fighting the Russians, the Germans started to fight the British and the Americans that landed. Instead of fighting the Russian and keeping them away of their advance, the Russians advanced and conquered the eastern, the Romania and Hungary earlier than any other way. If the Germans would fight stronger, the Russians, to my opinion, that was the decision that saved us. The decision of the German army, of Hitler probably, the war in the Ardennes, for instance, that he started, the war in the Ardennes that he started, and all the German forces went to this place instead of fighting the Russians. That, to my opinion, saved us. That's what I think. That was my way of thinking.
I mean, do you think you would have survived without your brother and sister?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Right.
Probably no. Probably no, because I was 5 years old. I couldn't do nothing. I would walk on the streets. I would decide. But on the other hand, I have a friend in the same age as me, without sister, without brothers, without any relatives. He survived. How? I don't know. Probably hide. Probably, I don't know. I don't know how he survived.
what kind of clothing were you wearing? Did you have shoes or no shoes or?
No, I had shoes, shoes that I had from home, clothing that I had from home, and shoes that I had from home.
Right. So what do you remember about the end of the war?
I remember simply that the Russians came in the 15th or 17th of January, and they entered our place and told us, "You are free to go." All of us, all the people there left the basement, and everybody went wherever he wants. We went back to our apartment in Hungary. My aunt was there. She hid there. She couldn't feed us. She couldn't give us anything. She couldn't. We had nothing to live. We had nothing to live. She tried to sell used clothes from here and there. We couldn't live. Practically, we couldn't continue living in Hungary. So the Jewish organizations there took care of us, and I lived 1 year in one of the villages with one of my cousins, but they also couldn't live. Also had no facilities, so I came back to Budapest. And when I was 7, I joined. I joined the Jewish organization that took care of children, orphans and children like me.
Now, when you were liberated, did you look like the people from the concentration camps? Were you just skin and bones?
No, every day there was a center in Budapest that they published every day the names of the people that came back from the concentration camps. Every day we were there, going to that place every day. I went there with my aunt, with my brother, with my sister, looking for the name of our mother. Our father, we didn't know. We know that he is in the army. We know nothing about him, but we knew that my mother was taken to the concentration camp. Until we did it for a few weeks, until we met a lady that was with my mother, and she told us that my mother died at the concentration camp.
Do you remember that woman's name?
No, I don't remember. I don't know even how do we know her. I don't know. I really don't know.
Do you know
But
how your mother
I
died?
know that he was with that's my aunt. Realized or talked with her that I know that she was with my mother. I know.
Do you know how your mother died?
She died like everybody from poisoning. The desert of Germany at the end of the war, they poisoned the waters in the camps, as I was told, and
Right.
she drank from the water in the camp in Bergen. She was in Bergen-Belsen.
Right.
And she died in Bergen-Belsen drinking the water. That was, this woman told us.
Right. So, I mean, you were just a kid. Do you remember how you felt emotionally when you realized you didn't have parents?
No. I don't think that at that age you had the feeling for these things. I don't know. Later on, until now, even you, I'm 83 years old. The Holocaust is in me. It's with me all the time. All the time I'm living it with it. I'm reading, thinking. Whatever I do, I am with the terrible happenings, the people, what I saw there, what I felt there, the fact that my parents were not here. All this is with you all your life, all your life.
Did you ever see any dead people during the war? Any people that were killed during the war?
We saw when we left the basement, the Russian did a few things. First of all, they killed all the horses in the streets that people will have need something to eat. Because it was a starvation in Budapest. There was no food in Budapest. I
Right.
saw dead people, very few on the street. I didn't know that they are dead even. They were lying on the street in the snow. It was January, it's cold. I saw people lying on the street. And we went with my aunt, taking meat, cutting the horses, cutting meat from the horses that the Russians shoot, and taking home to eat something.
What was the first thing you had to eat when you were liberated? Do you remember?
No.
No?
The first thing I eat candies. I went from the family that our neighbor, they hided us. They hided us in their apartment after the liberation, because still there were, the uncertainties. They hide us there. And I remember that I was sleeping under the bed in their apartment for a few days. We couldn't go down to the shelters, and because the war was still on. But they helped us, that this family, this lady, Yutzineni, helped us, and we were there for a few days until things calmed down. We went to our apartment, and then we tried to live somehow, which we couldn't, because nobody could maintain us anything, no food, no clothes, nothing. And we joined the Jewish organizations. And later on, we became to Israel. My brother at 1946, and I came at end of 1947. I left Hungary.
So what kind of candies did they have? Were they chocolate candies, or do you remember?
No, candies. I
Yeah.
don't remember.
Now, when you went back to your apartment, was there anything in the apartment?
Yes, the same thing, the same as it was before. We had nothing practically. We had a few furniture, and that's all.
But it was
Nothing.
still there?
Yes, they were still there.
You
Yes.
know? What about photographs? Were there any pictures in the apartment,
No.
or
No, no,
no?
no.
So did you live in the apartment?
The few photographs that we have, this is where was in the apartment, but it's only really 4 or 5 photographs that my aunt kept somehow.
Right. So did you actually stay in that apartment?
We actually stayed very little at the apartment. Because we had nothing to eat, nothing to do. We had to leave the apartment because our aunt had no facilities to keep us there. She couldn't give us food even. We had to go. We had to leave. So my brother and sister found a kind of a Jewish organization to be there, and I was sent for a year to one of the villages to my cousin, and later.
You know the name of the village?
Yes, of course, Shayolad. Shayolad was the name of the village. They lived there, 2 brothers. One of them came to Israel later on, and the other one to Canada.
Who were these brothers? Were they relatives
They were relatives, yes. They were relatives.
of your father or your mother?
My mother.
And what were their names?
Their name was, one of them was Pishta Schwarz, and the other one was Julius. Julius Schwarz. Julius and Pishta Schwarz. That was his name.
How did they survive the war?
One of them I know because it's a terrible story. He was 15, 16 years old. His name is Pishta. I have his testimony to Yad Vashem. His story is unbelievable, unbelievable. He joined the death march from Budapest to Austria, if you heard about it, where 70,000 Jews were walking in the winter from Budapest to Austria. He was one of them. Most of the people died in that march. He survived. And his story is a really terrible story. Terrible that this march for a few months in the winter, walking from Budapest to Austria and burying your friends that died in this march is one of the more horrible stories that I ever heard. And I have his testimony in Yad Vashem. He telling his story, his life. So he was one of them that lived in this Shiolad place. And the other one was Julius. I don't know how he survived. I don't know.
And your cousin was with you too?
No.
I thought you said you were there with a cousin, no?
Excuse me?
When you went there, you were there with these two brothers, and that was it? There was no one else?
No, no one else. No
one else?
No one else. One of them was married at that time. Julius was married, and they were dealing with butchery, selling. The Shiolad is a village very close to Mishkoltz, about maybe 10 miles, maybe less, and they were in the house, in the basement of the house, they have a butchering facility, probably not very clean, and they sold the meat in Mishkoltz. That's what they did.
Oh, so this was not kosher.
Excuse me, non-kosher.
Not kosher, right.
Non-kosher.
Yeah. Okay, and did your brother and sister visit you sometimes?
At that time, no.
No?
Never.
Okay.
The Pishta and Julius, they simply sent me back to Budapest. They couldn't survive even they had to leave. As I told you, one of them left to Israel, the other one to Canada.
Right. Okay. So then where did you go? You went back with your brother and sister?
No, I went back to a Jewish Mossad children institution, Mossad, how call it, the joint that organized for children studying places and places to live. And I lived there until we came back, we emigrated to Israel with my sister.
So was that a Zionist group? Was that a
Yes.
Zionist organization?
Yes. All of them were. Joint was an American food organization, Zionist organization, and where there were Gordonia, I remember Gordonia, that organized our immigration to our way to Israel, or leaving Hungary. But you know, you are not in your hand at all. Somebody is controlling yourself. You do not know what you want to do. You cannot do whatever you want to do. You are with the hands of others. That's a real situation. That's a real thing. That you cannot take decisions of yourself. You are not in the age and not in a situation that you can do whatever you want to do. My brother was 12, 13 years old, my sister 11, I was 6 years old. You are not in a position to take decisions.
Was your brother bar mitzvah?
My brother never had a bar mitzvah, I don't know. Never.
Did you learn how to speak Hebrew there?
Yes, very little. When I came to Israel at 48, I didn't speak Hebrew, but we went to a school, the Israeli school, the same place, and we learned Hebrew too, but we study Hungarian, and there were Hebrews class. But it was when I came to Israel, I didn't speak Hebrew.
No?
No.
So did you go to did you go to a Jewish school at that time?
No, it was an Israeli organization, but I don't know if you can call it Jewish and Israeli or I don't know. Jewish and Israeli probably it's one thing to call. It was a Jewish-Israeli organization.
Right. So did your brother and sister, did they both want to go to Israel, or did they want to go someplace else?
No, in fact, our pictures, our photos were sent to the United States, and an American family wanted to adopt my sister, and she says that without her brother, she doesn't want to go to the United States. That's the end of the story. And
Right.
I really, in the 50s, this family came to Israel. I met them. The
Do you know
family
their
that
name?
wanted to adopt my sister. They
Right.
came to Israel. They visit Israel.
Yeah.
They met us.
What do you remember about that family?
I remember that they were more on the rich side, rich people. They wanted to save Jewish children, wanted to adopt one girl, not no more than that. That's all.
Where did they live in the United States?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't remember. I knew, but I don't remember. It was in 1952, 53 that they visited Israel.
Right. So how did you get to Israel?
We get to Israel with, as anybody else, with the Israeli organization. They organized the Aliyah, Jewish organizations. It was quite in a secret way. We were adopted, so to say, by a French family. We went to Marseille by train. And from Marseille, we boarded a ship. I don't remember the name of the ship, to Israel. We stopped in Alexandria in Egypt and came to Israel. We were took by the British to one of the places. And then when the British left, we moved to a Ma'abara. And we started our life as my brother came a year before ourselves. He was in Cyprus, but he came to the Ma'abara. He took my sister to the place that he was, and I went to a youth village called Ben Shemen, by the Aliyat HaNoar, we call it, by people that took care of young people like me, Aliyat HaNoar. And they took me or sent me to Ben Shemen, and I grew up there in Ben Shemen, which is a
Now-
youth village, was a youth agricultural village.
When you went to Israel, did you have any money with you?
No
Did
way.
you have any belongings, any suitcases?
Nothing at all, nothing.
So you came with your sister?
We came with a few clothes, nothing at all, nothing.
And you came with your sister?
Yes, I came with my sister, but my brother came a year before us.
And do you remember anything about being on the ship, on the
Yes.
boat?
Yes, I remember.
What do you remember about the ship? Where did you sleep?
We sleep in a cabin, not in a cabin, in the downstairs in the basement somewhere. And it was not, as I told you, we left Marseille and stopped in Alexandria. I remember stopping in Alexandria, looking at the Egyptians, and from Alexandria to Haifa. And I remember being on the ship, running on the ship here and there, playing, nothing special.
What year was that?
48. We arrived in Israel in March 48.
Okay. Now,
We left Hungary at the end of 47. We were in Marseille, which was a place where it was a place where from there they sent the Jews to Israel. And in Marseille, we stayed for 3 months. And from there, we entered Israel.
now, do you want to stop here and then continue another time, or?
Where do you want to go from here?
No, next time we can continue from when you arrived in Israel and, what happened when you got to Israel.
I think it's better if we continue another time.
So you won't,
2 hours, it's
yeah, okay. So we'll stop here and then we'll continue another time from
okay.
when you got to Israel. Is that okay?
Ronnie will arrange the other time.
Well,
Right.
it'd be great if we could just arrange it right now. So you want to speak maybe next week?
No,
Yeah,
it's
that's
okay.
fine.
It's okay. Next week is fine. Pick up the same time, same day. It's okay.
Yeah.
Ronnie.
Brad, could you do Monday same time at 9:30 or you're 12:30?
Probably that
Let
should be okay.
let me look here. I have in my calendar. Monday will be
Monday for you, it's 7:30.
9. Yeah, but it's 19th, right? No,
Yeah, no, the 19th, yes.
19th. Okay, it's okay. 19th, 7:30. Okay, for
Okay,
me 7:30.
Okay, I'll send the Zoom invite then.
Okay,
okay, great.
okay.
Okay, thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much.